Hi guys, this is Jawad. Welcome to another episode of Let's Go. The reason why I couldn't make videos in between this past 1 month is primarily because of the Battair Mafia. मैंने अपनी पिछली वीडियो में mention किया था. They actually hacked into my YouTube account, and that basically then started this whole ring of me trying to get in touch with them. They weren't letting me do anything. I was pleading, I was begging. I was like, please, आप लोगों को बटेरों की कसम मुझे वीडियोस बनाने दें. But they were like, नहीं, you've done us a disservice. And ये सारी गुफ्तगू by the way पंजाबी में हुई थी, but I'm not going to repeat what was said. Anyway, so I had to talk to Lahore's donkey mafia, and I set them on the Battair Mafia. There was this major war between those two sides for the past 1 month, and in the meantime I got my account back. I kind of found out that I was putting the wrong password. It had nothing to do, but I made those two mafias fight each other, which was fun to look at on the side. Anyways, by and large, jokes are really hard and a rare commodity to come by these days, because कुछ भी ऐसा नहीं है जो actually बहुत funny हो, and ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इंसान अपनी किस्मत पे ही हंस सकता है. उस पे भी ये डर है कि शायद किस्मत ऑफेंड हो जाए. तो इन केसेस में आपको बहुत एहतियात करनी पड़ती है कि व्हाट आर यू गोइंग टू से, हाउ आर यू गोइंग टू से इट, एंड हु इज़ गोइंग टू रिएक्ट द वे दे आर, बिकॉज you don't have the power over that. So with that in mind, I want to get right to it. The major thing that I want to talk about is the state, and I don't mean it in the sense of I'm against the idea of this Pakistani state or anything. I'm pretty much against everything, but being an apolitical person that I am, I still want to pose this question for debate. This is 2020, and I think we have that much freedom to actually engage in a proper discourse and discussion over this question. Do we need a state? In light of everything that's been happening in the US with the protests, with the Black Lives Matter protest, and in light of what the Pakistani government basically initiated yesterday with this hot debate on should people stay in themselves, do their own lockdown, or should they go out and buy things and shop till they drop. That's a hashtag moment. And all of that being said, there's this one nagging question that comes again and again. What is the state doing? In both cases that I pointed out, whether it's in America, whether here in Pakistan, whether in India, all of these populist states where people who were popular and became the presidents or the prime ministers of those respective countries are now feeling this pressure of maintaining that popularity, because democracy in modern times is a popularity contest, and Trump would know that more than anyone, because he used to run a popularity contest. So, and Imran Khan was in a popularity contest called international cricket. So there we have all of these things where the question again and again comes, do we really need a state now in today's apocalyptic world where pandemics are happening, where protests are happening every other day? What is the state doing? And it's a general question. It's not directed at any one particular state, but a general overall analysis of how governments usually react to dissent. They use violence. Is it necessary? People want ownership, and what the state does is they wash their hands off of them and say, we don't own them. They're probably foreign agents. In America's case, they blame China or Russia, but these days they're friends, so they mostly blame China. In Pakistan, it's very easy. The list goes from Yehudi Sazish to foreign agent to traitor to flana. So people who come out on the streets are immediately disowned, and as a citizen you get disenfranchised by the state, and that's where your anger and your frustration arises. And that's mostly why people protest, because they want ownership, they want their voices to be heard, and yet the state feels threatened by those voices, and they're like, nahi inko chup karao warna hamari rozi roti nahi aayegi. So that being said, again, so what is it that makes this word so controversial? Like, Do we need the state? Why is this question such a controversial question? Even though we're living in modern times, we are kind of acquiring a selective form of statehood anyways. Like in Pakistan, the constitution which runs dictates that the provinces have autonomy to maintain certain kinds of laws and then superimpose them on people and then actually enforce them as well. But the center always remains the center. Do we really need a center when we have certain autonomous statehoods in present anyways? So that's something that one can address. And the thing about democracy basically is that it is primarily seen as a government for the people, by the people, but that can only exist in a vacuum. The idea is that whenever that vacuum is fleshed out, or whether that vacuum gets sucked out, chances are that people would actually wake up to the reality of what democracy is. It's a sham. Why is it a sham? Because people who set up democracy or set up a government have vested interest, and as soon as those vested interests get threatened, the government becomes weak and the government becomes vulnerable. So they lash out at the citizens who themselves voted certain people into power. So you have this weird cycle of violence and hatred and angry resentment boiling up between the people who govern and the people who are governed. So you have these two constant battles happening. Now, in light of yesterday's main thing with Pakistan, their statement that we are easing this lockdown, the citizens need to be responsible, the citizens need to do this, they need to follow the SOPs, flana. That all is fine. Every individual who is rational enough knows that curving the line is not a CrossFit term. It's basically somebody who did their research during the Spanish flu came up with that term and said that social distancing will help reduce the effect of this certain virus that we are facing right now. So with that being said, you easing the lockdown and then putting the onus on the citizens is like the parents basically leaving the house open and telling the children don't go out, and then the children go like, ooh, there are no parents, let's go out. So that is basically what's happening. And the state in its essence, in its prime form, is like a family structure where the leader of the said state is like a parent who has to look after the rights and values and lives of a kid. And the citizen is that said kid. Now that citizen could be a clever citizen, like a clever child, could be a rebellious kid, like a rebellious citizen, or could be a really dumb kid, like a dumb citizen. Now those things need to be catered for when you look at certain rules and laws and you're administering them. What most philosophers also talk about when they talk about the idea of statelessness is when statelessness can only be achieved when the individual, the citizen, has reason. How does reason come? Reason comes through education, reason comes through self-awareness, reason comes through your own superimposing ideologies which you think benefit your existence, your survival, because every human being at the end of the day is trying to survive. So that being said, you apply that logic to the country which is Pakistan and see how many people are actually rational. And that's a question. I will not say anything on that, but I think that that's something to think about, that how many people are reasonable, rational citizens? Are they educated enough? Because in a country where your overall literacy rate is 40% and overall conspiracy theory rate is 150%, you really need to think along the lines of these questionings, because data analysis, evaluation, academic ideologies, academic concepts, debates, all of these are well and good, but as long as one individual does not have reason, these things fall on deaf ears. So I would just leave at that and just basically say that think about this question and tell me what your answer is, that do we really need a state? Thank you.